Long time ago, I went for an art competition. I was a little child. What I had was a pencil, a rubber, and a sketch pen. I didn't know that much about the art world. Once I entered into this venue of competition, I looked at my other children as holding so much diverse art material. It surprised me a lot. I was continuously focused what I supposed to do there. In return, I got my first child art exhibition award. It was immense pleasure to receive that award, and I get a box of colors and pencils and all that stuff to start making my art journey. I kept in a very secret space of my home. Every time I come back from school, I open that and just carry on my art practice. I was highly influenced from the Chandamama illustration. That was super colorful illustration magazine I used to get. My father was keenly observing what I was doing. And what I realized after I finished this whole competition and my practice, I always think that resources are not important, as we have important is our own potential. In 1986, my father asked me to join art college. His ideas was very clear. To join art college, after I finish, I'll graduate from the college, I'm going to be art teacher. That time, art teacher was a very valuable position, and it was a government job available. I graduated in 1991. That day in Orissa, art teacher post was abolished. But on the other hand, BK College taught me a lot. It's a kind of open house to so many art traditions of Odisha, tribal art, folk art, indigenous, different kind of practice. As you know, Odisha have so much variety of art. Our college was very close to a museum. I always felt that the museum is an extension of my college. Whenever I used to get time, I used to go to inside the museum, do the skits and study. It was like a powerhouse of our culture. My initial inspiration from this tribal and folk art imbibed me so much in me. I always thought that this is way I should look at it, because I was keenly looking at all these traditional artists or Indian artists. The way they do their practice was very meditative. I like that process. I met a two interesting teacher in my BK College of Art and Craft. One is Dr. Dinanath Pathi and Debra Sao. Dinanath Pathi was a prolific painter but an art historian. He did several books on Odishan craft and heritage. Other hand, Debra Sao is a fantastic sculptor. He used to be a master in terracotta. He knew about the material. He knew about how to prepare the material. He knew how to construct the terracotta and the temperature to fire. Before I left BK College, my teacher told me, Jagannath, remember one thing. When your hand, your head, and your heart have a wonderful conversation with your material, there will be fantastic artwork you're going to produce in your life. After I finished my study, I thought I will go to study higher at the MS University, Baroda. I asked my father, I wanted to be there. But my father was reluctant because of his financial burden. He was thinking that if I got a small job, at least I can support financially. But I was very sure I'm going to do higher study. I asked, I need your support. Without asking him, I applied to join art college, university. And one day I was with my friend's house. I met his elder brother. I was explaining that I have a desire to study higher and I want to go out. When he heard about MS University, he was surprised. He said, whenever, if you got a chance, I will support you. I applied and I got selected. Back home, I told my father, I got selected, will you help me? He was so happy. And he went around and just get some sort of help from his friends and family. But he told me, you can only offer me 300 rupees every month. Without telling him, I was just wondering, where I going to get the other support? Again, straight down, I went to see my friend's brother. When he heard that I got a chance, he said, okay, Jagannath, you go, I will money order you something. But he didn't told me anything, how much he going to money order. When I reached faculty, I only received 500 rupees. But one thing I learned, if you had something strong desire in our life, we should not hesitate to ask help for the other. I think somewhere or other, the help is going to come. Other hand, this 500 rupees, after paying my food bill and all, there's hardly anything left. Then my head was working like, how am I going to make my art practice? Where the material I going to buy? Then my search started with the free material, anything free that can available, or the found object, or a cheap material. Fortunately, I got the material that called wood and terracotta. One day I was sitting with a couple of my friends, having conversation about our art practice and all. One of my friends told me, Jagannath, your works looks great, but the problem is, looks like a traditional. I didn't say anything. But it stuck in my mind. I was keep thinking, where is this ideas of tradition and the modernity start? What kind of language we should do that going to look like a contemporary art? One day I met my professor Raghav Kaneria. He was my mentor. He was very supporter. I told the story that what should I do? He said, you should do more research on it. And why don't you do your dissertation? Then I started my dissertation, folk element in contemporary art. And in that way, I understand there's so many Indian artists. And surprisingly, I see Raghav Kaneria, his earlier work, influence from the folk art of Gujarat. Then I was looking at the great Picasso, his influence from tribal art. So I was very sure that my art practice are going in the right direction. Before leaving MS University, my professor told me, never stop pushing your boundaries, try learn something new. I moved to Delhi. Then surprisingly, I meet my former teacher, Dinanath Pathi. That time he was Secretary Lal Kala Academy. He was happy to receive me. I also received a small scholarship, but there was no space to work. I met him, I discussed about it. He said, why don't you come to stay in my home? At least you save some money so that you can put that money in your art practice. Next day I was carrying my little bag. I entered in his house. I saw surprisingly there was other students are there, all are from Orissa. There's hardly any space today. But without any option, I put my bag. I was just then my thinking start, what new art I should do? Because my sculpture practice need a lot of space, studio space. Any difficulty, hardness come in your way, there's also solution come your way. So I started to making a series of drawing and collage from everywhere, tearing from the cloth or cut out from the newspaper or cigarette foil or anything, everything around me. I accumulate them. I did a series of work, but I was so hesitate. I never shown that artwork to anyone. I thought this artwork's product by lack of space. It is not my real creative endeavor. I supposed to do more sculpture. In 1996, I moved to Japan. It was completely new uh, turning point in my life. One way, looking at the cutting edge Japanese contemporary art and then a beautiful tradition. I was so thrilled to be there. My fellowship it was a traveling fellowship. So I traveled to the museums, meeting with the different artists, collaborating with the Japanese artists, which completely changed my understanding about space, material. I thought every material have a potential to say something. I was very confident. One day I was passing through a museum. I looked at a small artwork. Exactly that looks like my artwork I used to do it in Delhi. I feel so happy to see. I got a great validation that all that work I did there at the Delhi, not lack of space, it's something interesting language I was evolving. Back again in 1997, I pursued my career, that time, this practice. And every material, every object became a part of my artwork. I try to create a story. I enjoy them. And I feel like it is something I'm going into the unknown territory. And there's so much celebration within that. In 98, super cyclone happened in Orissa. There was so much devastation happened. One way, I was supposed to thinking I'm going to go to Orissa to meet my friends, talk about my story. Jain garden, beautiful buildings and Japanese culture. On the other hand, social destruction, ecological destruction. I was engaged in a relief work. And same time I was doing a series of practice. That practice, the tension between the story of Japan and the story of Orissa. It is about the food and culture, whatever it is changing in my life. This series of work, I was so much feeling it is so minimal, but it is coming from diverse source of material. Now I understood every material has their energy. They have some story to tell. When they come one place and they build a beautiful language. In 2000, I got INLAX Foundation Fellowship, moved to London to study in Royal College of Art. London was completely another world for me. My teaching practice, my language, and looking at the museum and their heritage and culture. Whatever I learned, I thought I want to unlearn here. By traveling around, I did a first time, I little cutout, I called this an angel. This cutout I used to carry with me. I was taking photographs, whatever I really like, either the landscape or heritage or people, anything, and create a series of artwork. On the other hand, I did a work about dictionary text. Being there in England, English language was always difficult me, the pronunciation. And what they speak, I don't understand sometimes. Back home in 2003, me and my wife decided we're going to settle down in Gurgaon. I felt it was so much contrast. There was so much nature versus culture. Then my way of practice changed. I was looking at nature and ecology in a very different way. Meeting with different kind of people, those my neighbors and all, understanding their way of utopias. They are all economical migrant. They are only thinking about their own. I was wondering, what is the larger utopias we're going to build in this city like Gurgaon? How a lot of ideas can accumulate. My fabric became play a very important role. Wherever I used to go, I used to collect a lot of my fabric. I felt like a fabric as a reference to Indian culture and identity. Seeing city as so much contrast. One way, so much opportunity, and other ways, there's a lack of opportunities, in reference to water, reference to river. But my ideas of tradition is never detached. I always try to bring somewhere or other to hybrid this new transformation in my work. Either you look at the high-rise building on Ravan, I was always looking at how there is a kind of balanced space we can create. They're not supposed to be nature versus culture or the development. I always bring these two different scenarios in my practice and see how this contrast element can create one balanced space and talk about our own life. Looking at the city through the forest and bringing the mythology and storytelling, whatever I learned from my traditional source of understanding, I combine them. They became an endless story to tell, and there's the unknown way to took me my journey. This is about the city of Mumbai, looking through a forest. And looking at the trees, and that is like a constellation and tree of life. And also I was thinking about this animals, bird, trees, microorganism. They are all inviting us. They are all inviting us to creating a new future together. For me, I was looking at the art not like a mere beautiful object or image. For me, it is like a transformation. It is just my witness to this transformation through my practice, through my understanding myself, through my articulation. One hand, I'm holding my tradition, which I love, in core my heart. On the other hand, the transformations that truly shape our future.